In today's video, we're going to be checking out the brand new Rasasi Hawas Viper. So I just got this one in along with Atlantis. I already did my full review on Atlantis. I've been giving this one some more wearing, and I'm finally going to kind of give you my full thoughts on this one. So I've been looking forward to it, and this one, it completely caught me by surprise. Now, you'll notice when we take a look at the newer releases here, Atlantis, Malibu, Verde, Cobra, they've been fresher leaning, right? You know, and pretty designer level for the most part. None of those are really all that challenging to pull off. This one is a different story, so we're going to dive into that today. I'm going to tell you how it smells, what it smells like, how it performs, when it's going to be best suited to wear, and things like that. So let's start off with the elephant in the room, and that is, what is this a clone of, right? Because we're expecting a Rasasi scent to be a clone of something, and especially this Hawas series, they've been cloning things. And so you look around and you see it's compared to things like Nasamato Black Afghano, Gucci Intense Oud, and I can tell you that it does smell a little bit similar to those, in my opinion. It does. Now, one of the main notes that something like this and Black Afghano is going to share is the cannabis note. That one probably is kind of the standout note because you don't see it used all that often in men's fragrances. And oftentimes when it is used, it's one that will kind of stick out at you, right? It's an uncommon smell in fragrances. And so you do pick up on that in Black Afghano, for sure, but Black Afghano has a lot more of a sweetness to it, in my opinion. More of a creamy sweetness. I find that Viper is more dry, more woody, and more earthy. Now, same thing can be said about Gucci Intense Oud, right? Because there's kind of a similarity between this and Black Afghano, and so when we start tying it all back together, there are going to be some similarities between these two as well. They both have kind of a similar style, okay? But what I find that Viper reminds me of a lot, and this is something that I noticed when I very first tried it and sprayed it on, was this guy right here. I'm getting some Interlude out of Viper. I really, really am. Now, this is Interlude 53. This kind of reminds me of the regular Interlude as well. This is just the one that I picked up. And why is that? It's because of this woody spiciness that they both smell like. And when you smell this one here, you just get that rugged, spicy richness, and then you put your nose on Viper, and you just get a very similar type of feel. So let's go and take a look at the full note breakdown for Viper. Up top, we have saffron, cannabis, thyme, green notes, and Divana. In the mid, we have tobacco, coffee, raspberry, cinnamon, and violet. And in the base, we have tonka, musk, and gurjun balsam. I know I'm saying that wrong, but that's as close as it's going to get. Now, you notice we got a full-size healthy note breakdown here. And what do I pick up on the most out of that note breakdown? Well, I definitely get that cannabis off the top. Now, it's not anything that's, you know, over the top. It's not anything that's going to be off-putting to people around you or anything like that. It's not like a sweet style, skunky smelling cannabis. It's more of a green, more of an herbal kind of aromatic smell. You know, it's very, very mild in that sense. You know, nothing crazy here that sticks out at you. You definitely get a lot of that cinnamon, and that is kind of part of the spicy kick that you get off the opening there. Going along with that, saffron, also a warm spice. That's paired up with the cinnamon really nicely here, and that's coming through too. Now, I can't tell you for sure what gurjun or gurhan balsam smells like, but I do get a balsamic smell. I would equate that to be coming from that note, just kind of like a Peru balsam type of sweetness almost. Now, there's some other notes in here, like for example, you know, the Divana, the thyme, even the tobacco and the raspberry. Those are not really quite as prominent for me. You know, I could pick out tobacco pretty well, along with like a raspberry, that tobacco raspberry type of deal. Usually that's pretty easy to pick up on. Not quite as prominent here in this one, at least not nearly as much as I would hope for. When it goes back down to it, it really is kind of tying back into that Nasamato Black Afghano type of cannabis smell with some of the sweetness that it has, but then it also has this really strong, prominent, warm, spicy, earthy, rugged kind of woodiness from something like Interlude. You know, something like this is just, it's such a head turner in the sense that it's just so potent and so strong smelling. And this kind of has a similar deal to that one. And I didn't really see anybody bring that up. You know, when you go on FragranceNet and look, the first things you see it compared to is Black Afgano and Intense Oud. And I definitely see that similarity for sure. I do find that it's more spicy, a little bit more intense smelling than these, where again, these have more of a smooth creaminess. So let's take a look and see what else people are comparing it to. It's always fun to see, especially because you know that a lot of people probably haven't even smelled this yet. And so they're just kind of putting random stuff. So that first one is Black Afgano, coming in at 27-4 in terms of like to dislike or agree to disagree ratio. And again, I think it's similar. I don't think it's an exact clone, my personal opinion. Gucci Intense Oud, 5-0. Okay, again, it's a similar thing. And then, oh, there is Interlude, 2-1. So kind of a less popular vote, but to me this is more similar to Interlude than it is to Black Afgano, in my opinion. And then we have, is that Xerjoff Naxos? It is. Smells nothing like Naxos. Again, I'm not getting the tobacco, and there's no honey to be found, so that one doesn't really make sense. I skipped over Dora and stuff, you know. Yeah, just other random stuff. Interlude Black Iris. So again, another Interlude, although this doesn't have the iris, it's not quite as smooth as that one. So let's talk about how this one performs. That's what everybody wants to know, and it is, no surprise, and kind of without a doubt, a strong performer. It sounds like, you know, every Hawas is a good performer. That's probably what the naysayers are going to say, but it's just because they are. You know, they do perform good. We're not talking a designer brand here. We're talking about a Middle Eastern clone brand who is already coming in and trying to, you know, give us affordable options to much more expensive scents. And so generally they're going to also be incentivized to increase the performance and make it perform better, right? That's just kind of what these brands are doing. And I find that most of these clones, not only are they very accurate, but they do perform good, oftentimes better than the original. It's just kind of a given, you know, and that's the same thing here. I'm not saying that this is stronger than Black Afgano or Interlude, because those are pretty hard to beat, but it is a very strong scent from start to finish. It's another 10+ hour longevity scent, one that will oftentimes withstand a normal washing, meaning if you spray it on your hand and just go wash your hands like normal, it's still going to be perceivable afterwards. Like, you have to make an effort to really scrub this one off in order to completely remove it from your skin. Oftentimes, you know, potentially in the shower using like a washcloth or a loofah to really get it removed fully. This, again, will last through normal hand washing. And so very strong stuff. Projection is also on the very strong end as well. I did a couple sprays in the air here just before starting this and throughout the video, and it's just, it will fill up a room, no problem. And you would expect that out of all the other scents that this is getting compared to. Of those, you know, the Nasamato and Interlude are going to be the strongest. Gucci Intense Oud is pretty strong too, but not as strong as these. So far, again, with the ones that I've listed off and the ones that they've already released, you know, Verde, Malibu, Atlantis, Cobra, and so on, even Tropical, which was a pretty recent release. They're all designer level. They're all pretty mass pleasing, right? Very, very safe scents. This is going to be the exception. So if you're somebody who doesn't really want to push the boundaries too much, you're just going to want to stay away from this one. I'm just going to make it really simple, right? It's not something that everybody's going to like, because I can see people getting into trouble with this one because they've liked every other Hawas fragrance before, and so they just think that they're going to like this. And that's where, you know, there might be some confusion, because so far, all of their releases have been mega safe. Everything from an Invictus Aqua smell to a Creed Aventus smell to a Le Beau smell to a Louis Vuitton Imagination and Pacific Chill smell, and I'm missing some, right? Just all of the ones that they've done. Safe scents. This is going to be their most daring release so far. For people who do want something different, this is a bonus. You know, we don't really have a ton of Interlude clones, at least not off the top of my head. We don't really have a ton of Black Afgano clones either. And so having this, which kind of incorporates the best of those three with the Gucci, is, you know, something that some people will appreciate. So guys, that's really about all I have for Hawas Viper. Yet another strong performer, another great quality clone that's kind of tackling some niche here with this one. Now you could argue that maybe Louis Vuitton is technically niche. It's not really, because they produce clothing, but they're niche priced. This is, you know, aside from, I guess, the Creed Aventus smelling one or a Nishane Hasavad, this is one of the few Hawas flankers that is going after some, you know, more unique niche smelling scents here, which I think is pretty cool. So if you want something that kind of essentially puts you into this category, a little bit of black Afghano and that spicy, rich woodiness of Interlude, then check out Viper. Alrighty guys, that's gonna do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.